love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's out on assignment. Seems like a lot of us might be out on assignment right now trying to get it done. A lot of basketball going on. With that being said, we'll get into some of that basketball talk as well as some other things. Welcome to episode 637 and Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora. All things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story, HBCU athletic programs, and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host Charles Bishop and AD Drew. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live. KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, as we like to let him know, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring in our co-host as we get into it. Charles Bishop, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Another successful trip to the SWAC tournament last week. And, man, we got postseason basketball. Got Alabama State playing right now. Still a lot of stuff going on. Got WNIT to talk about. Staying busy.
You're right. It's a lot. And talking about the score there, it's on True TV. You can watch that and listen to us as you watch us as well. Put out your iPad and TV. Let's get it going. St. Francis, Pennsylvania. NEC up there is leading 24-23. 24-20. And the score just changed like that as it is now 26-23, at least according to my ESPN app with 7:42 left. Charles might be able to sneak in some up-to-dates here and there as he has the game on the tube. With that being said, let me go to you, Drew. How are you doing today?
Man, just when you thought you had enough of your fix of basketball, basketball junkies are in hog heaven right now. They are they out. Give me a hit. Give me another hit. Give me another hit. We can't even do a show without HBCU basketball interfering. Now, don't get used to that because it might be over real soon for some of us. But for others, there's only 3 weeks left, Dr. Cavil. Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, I can. And you said it appropriately. Basketball galore. In terms of those HBCUs, we'll find out what that exactly means in terms of how many are involved and what that looks like. But we have the gamut at multiple levels in terms of NAIA, NCAA Division II. We can kind of give you a clearing space on what looks there. We can even get into the Division Ones. And again, we'll keep you updated on what that looks like. We have the Black College Invitational Champions. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we may even have a surprise and get your interview in regards to what that looks like. But with that being said, let's see what direction, all things talked about, let's see what direction Charles Bishop wants to go to as I open it up for HBCU news. I'm fascinated.
Well, I let me see here. Let me be sure here. Well, let's go back and let's take a look at what happened last week. Of course, Southern, they won the SWAC championship last week with the win, 64-44 win over Alcorn as they will go dancing. Southern was paced by Dakaya Sanders, Tiana Ledge, and Sanaya Reed, who all contributed 11 points. And Southern going to the big dance. All tournament team. Want to make sure I mention the all tournament team. A lot of people were asking about that. All tournament team on the women's side was Alasia Fantroy from Texas Southern, Jalea Reed from Mississippi Valley State, Destiny Brown from Alcorn, Sanaya Reed from Southern, and Anaya Gordine from Southern. And Anaya Gordine, she was the tournament MVP for last week, Dr. Cavil.
Good stuff, good stuff. You right. You went back. You wanted to celebrate to those that put their name in the skylight because they had a great tournament. With that, let me see what direction Drew comes in, because he seems to always have a little twist, but I want to see if he's going to stay true or he's going to go in a different direction. HBCU news for you, Drew. What's on your mind?
Actually, I'm gonna try to do like the 3-for-1 with mine. I'm gonna quickly start off with the NAIA, as both Langston men and women advanced to the round of 16 in the NAIA tournament, along with, I believe it was Xavier's women's team that advanced to the round of 16. So that's number one. And my brother over there buried the lead, and the lead being, behold the green and gold, the Spartans, who got not only their men but their women in the tournament. But the lead is the fact that the women had a season well enough that they earned a number 13 seed.
That's huge.
In the women's tournament, that is the lead after going. What's their final record? I know it's something in 4. They only had
30. No, 30. Well, they got 30 of them. 30 slash. Let's say 30 knots. What is it?
Dr. Cavil, we got baseball teams that won't even see the 30 number, and they play 20 more. Right. They play 50 games. So the fact that you have gotten 30 out of 34, and we thought it was phenomenal last a couple of years ago, Charles, and I'll take you to the Wayback Machine when Jackson State's women were good enough to earn a number 14 seed. Mm-hmm. But the fact that this team did one spot higher and was able to get a number 13 seed coming out of the MEAC, y'all, coming out of an HBCU conference, not only shows the respect that this team has, but that their schedule had and the type of opponents that they were able to play. So, Dr. Cavil, our lesson today is, let's bottle the formula up that Norfolk women had this year, not only with their play on the court, but the way they approach their schedule. And let's try to implement that in both conferences so that we can get higher seeds for both our men and our women.
I like that. Great points made by you, Drew. I'm gonna go off the grid just a little bit here. I saw this news and it really was like, wow. I text everybody. I know people don't quite get into it like I do, so I know they kind of like. I did get a wow from Charles. So I know he was like. I got a couple of other folks that eyes were big, but Tennessee Attorney General announced a settlement with the NCAA over NIL recruiting. People forgot about this probably right after it went out there. The 2024 lawsuit challenged the NCAA for not allowing schools to use NIL to recruit players. And that was a big deal. You saw that the judge gave an injunction, which really opened up the floodgates in some ways, and people obviously did what they had to do, but they quite forgot that this still was a case. Well, Tennessee attorney, at least according to Jonathan Kermit, is how I'm going to pronounce it, Skrmetti, just in case I'm not pronouncing it correctly, announced the lawsuit against the NCAA ended in victory this week, and a final settlement is in order for student athletes in 5 states. Is what is stated here. I'm going to get down to what he says was the final terms of the settlement, because this is where it is intriguing to me. We'll sit on this for a minute. We'll see if we can discuss it. If not, we'll push it to Thursday because it's huge for me in my belief. Here are the final terms of the settlement. Empowering student athletes during recruitment. Guarantee that future student athletes and current student athletes in the transfer portal can freely negotiate compensation for their name, image, and likeness before they commit to a specific school. Second bullet point, removing third-party restrictions. Allow third parties to negotiate NIL deals with prospective student athletes during the standard recruiting window. Bullet point 3, enhancing school support. Enable schools to provide prospective student athletes with support and assistance regarding NIL opportunities during the recruiting process. Bullet 4, securing long-term protections. Prohibit the NCAA from undermining or circumventing these provisions through future actions. And bullet point 5, the final one that they list here, is establishing increased transparency and oversight. The NCAA must publicize any proposed NIL changes for the next 5 years and must meet with the states before any proposed NIL changes can go into effect. I'm not sure if I have the vocabulary to tell you what this means in the new marketplace, on top of what most people believe is going to take place with the House settlement this month. So buckle your seat, fan. HBCUs and non-HBCUs. For me, this is significant game changer. And while I certainly applaud it for the college athletes, as I like to call them, in terms of HBCUs, mid-major programs, low-major programs, whichever terminology, regional, historically white college universities, and to some degree, what I refer to as a Super 2, Power 2, what the NCAA calls the Autonomy 4, what many other people call the Power 4, and the G5, 6, 7, depending on which count you want to use now, is significantly interested as well as it will affect them. With that being said, I'll leave that on the table right there. Let you think about it a little bit. We'll come back after this break and see what you have to do. If you would, Drew, check your messengers, sent you some things on that, and then we'll be prepared to move forward. I'll send in the text as well. With that, we'll be right back after this break.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
There's a shot. To right. Might be. It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
He is supposed to win when he recruits against.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's see if we can pull. Is Joshua in the back?
He is.
Let's go ahead and pull him in.
Fellas.
Hey, how's it going?
John,
All right, what's up, Chuck?
what's going on, brother?
Man, blessed, man. Absolutely blessed. What up, Drew? What's up, Doc? How y'all doing, man?
Doing well. We heard that you're involved and have some information for us on a basketball game or a couple of games, the tournament of effect, if you would, championship. What I'm hearing is called the Black College Invitational Championship. They're in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know Wes Bellamy would love to join us, but he's in the middle of events kicking off today. If you would, before we get into some of the key matchups, let's talk about the framework of this and the events this week that are leading up to these games, starting with today.
Yeah, Doc, man, first off, thanks for having me on. As always, man, it's always great to see familiar faces, Chuck and Drew, and, of course, the general himself, Dr. Cavil. Yeah, man, this week kicks off the inaugural Black College Invitational Championship. It is a national invitational tournament that is played in the postseason, between historically Black colleges and universities on both. The plan was to be able to do this on both the mid-major and the major level. And the goal was to be able to satisfy a demand for postseason play. For us, we saw, we've seen continuously across the entire diaspora as it pertains to college basketball, specifically for HBCUs. We've continued to see year in and year out postseason opportunities for HBCUs be far and few between, if any. And so what was started off as a conversation between myself and my brother, Dr. Wes Bellamy, has sprouted into a little bit of resistance from a lot of different places. And then once we were able to break through the shell of resistance, we were able to kind of get in and build some relationships and build some partnerships and get some head nods. Yes, not too many open. Yeah, we with you. But we definitely got some head nods, yes, and we definitely got some responses that says, listen, y'all brothers, go ahead and do your thing. We won't stand in your way. So we are super proud that we were able to do this. A super salute and a thank you to the city of Charlotte, all of our sponsors, all of our partners, Van Wagner, and all of our partners, man, for helping us to get this done, as well as the advisory of gentlemen and generals like Dr. Cavil, as well as others, man, for helping us to kind of truck through this process as we've gone through. And yesterday and this morning simultaneously, we released what the brackets are going to look like for the inaugural BCIC. We did kick off today with the golf tournament, and tomorrow is Education Day. Education Day is sold out. Over 1,400 young high school students coming to the Bojangles Coliseum to learn more about historically Black colleges and universities. That's ultimately what this is all about. This is about being able to help to reinvigorate and invest into the next generation of young men and women who will be able to be the plants and the trees, therefore, at our historically Black colleges and universities, who will then sprout out to be big trees and really change the world. So we have both of those days of Education Days sold out, both tomorrow as well as on Thursday, sold out of young men and women from the high schools here in the area and surrounding areas coming to the Bojangles Coliseum, as well as our games. Tickets have been flying off the handle. Tickets are still available. We still have a handful of tickets available. Please go ahead and purchase your tickets. If you're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina at any time this week, go ahead and purchase your tickets. Go to blackcollegeinvitationalchampionship.org. Grab your tickets, grab your few sessions, grab your tickets for you, for your mama, for your sister, your brother. Grab them for the cat and the dog if you want them to come along too. We do have a pet-friendly environment. Long as them dogs and them cats don't bite and scratch, they can come inside of the Bojangles Coliseum, grab your tickets. And we look forward to seeing everybody there, man. Thank you to our community, man, I want to make sure we do a special thank you to our community, to our people, for lifting us up and supporting us in this opportunity. This is a first of its kind from our perspective. We absolutely would not have been able to do this without brothers and sisters from our community, from our people really investing and believing in this. So thank you to everybody that's been a part of this so far, Doc.
Good stuff. Before I let Charles Bishop jump in here and ask a question, I did want to talk about those matchups. You have the women game. First one, we'll look at Clark Atlanta, Virginia Union.
Yeah.
As you see the brackets here, you will have also men's game as the second game, which will be Central State and Claflin, that you just saw on the frame there. You have Johnson C. Smith and Livingston as the third game, which is a matchup between women. And then you have the fourth game, which is a men's game, Johnson C. Smith versus Virginia Union. Some solid matchups there, both on the men's and women's side. I'm interested, as I said yesterday, analyzing that Clark Atlanta matchup with Virginia Union. I'm interested in what that may look like. And as you see, you have your championship matchups on both sides, and you even have consolation games. So every team is going to get at least 2 games in this matchup. Streaming live for those that can't fly in, certainly in the area you need to get to the game. But outside of that, you can see it streamed on HBCU Go, which is fascinating as well. If you would, Charles, go ahead and follow up with your question.
Well, first and foremost, I wanted to salute you in terms of the way y'all have put this together and having a postseason tournament for HBCUs. I wanted to ask this question in terms of bringing it to the city of Charlotte. Why Charlotte? And the fact that I know Charlotte was a tremendous host with regards to the CIAA, but just the importance of bringing it back, Black college basketball back to the city.
Yeah, Chuck, man, this was an interesting process for us, man. We did open it up to some RFPs from multiple different cities. We had multiple cities show an extremely high level of interest. And we, with respect to every single city that showed us interest, we had some great opportunities, man. Some cities were throwing together some packages that it was very difficult for us to be like, oh, man, we want to go inside on the dotted line right there. But ultimately, when we got into the room with the city of Charlotte, there was an air of, hey, man, we messed this up with the CIAA. And we are not the same group that was in the room when the city and all of the other stakeholders fumbled the CIAA. This is a new group, and we want to be approached a different way. We just want an opportunity for you to hear us out, hear what we can be able to provide, and that's all they asked for, and we obliged. We absolutely were willing to listen to that opportunity, hear what they had to say, hear where they were coming from, and not enter into the room with a jaded kind of approach where, hey, man, we knew you guys kind of messed up with the CIAA. And once we were able to approach it that way, it became fairly clear, though, all the other cities that were interested gave some great packages. It was going to be very, very difficult to duplicate what the city of Charlotte and all of its stakeholders and partners provided to us in this opportunity. And what it also provided us was a little bit more insight as to what it's going to take to be able to bring more HBCU properties to a city like Charlotte, a booming, buzzing top 15 metropolitan in the country in its own right, big television market in its own right. I mean, even today, I was over there at the Bojangles Coliseum doing walkthroughs. Right across the street from the Bojangles Coliseum is an affiliate television station right there. I had never seen it before. Didn't even notice it until today as I was driving out the Coliseum parking lot. So all of those amenities and all of those things, our partners that, is part in the city, as well as the stakeholders around the city. And then I also thought that this was a great opportunity. We thought it was a great opportunity for us to be able to show that the African-American, the Black community, in particular, the HBCU segment of the Black community, is important to a city like Charlotte. Oftentimes, we have kind of gone down the railway that says, a city like Charlotte clearly has shown its hand that they do not care about our audience. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, going through this process, that the city of Charlotte rolled out the red carpet for us. They gave us a very, very comprehensive package, and they treated us like partners from day one, moment one, opportunity one. So, and that's all we were asking for.
Drew, I would let you jump in here, but we're up against it. So I want to ask one final thing from that perspective. Joshua, if you would, tell us again where you can get your tickets. as we before we take our next break.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys can go to Black College Invitational Championship.org. That's Black College Invitational Championship.org. Go grab your tickets. Grab your tickets, even if you cannot be here physically in place. We just talked about we have 2 days in a row of 1,400 plus young men and women, babies, our kids that come from our communities who would love to be able to go to the games outside of just going to the games that they're going to be sponsored to go to during Educational Day. If you go to Black College Invitational Championship.org, you can grab tickets and sponsor some kids and their ability to be able to go to some games there. Also go to Black College Invitational Championship.org and grab tickets to all of the auxiliary events. I know everybody's used to the city of Charlotte. They think about parties and events and auxiliary events. We do have a host of those social events where you can be able to come out and get your boogie on, get dressed to the nines, and have some fun as well. So lastly, man, that's Black College Invitational Championship.org. Grab your tickets, grab as many tickets as you like. Continue to support us, and we really, truly, truly appreciate y'all partnership and y'all contribution to the BCIC.
As we go into the first half of the show and our next break, we have a halftime score, NCAA first round, first four as they like to call it in the South region, which is San Francisco is up 39-34 over Alabama State. That game is on True TV. Stick with us because we'll be right back on the other side, and we have some rankings to get into. So we'll get into those rankings. And Joshua, thank you for your time. I know you got a lot of work to do, so we won't hold you more than this. But we appreciate that you were able to schedule 15 minutes to give us an update from there in Charlotte about the Black College Invitational Championship.
Yes,
thank you. We'll be right back after this break.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. As we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As we said, Mike Washington will show him some love. He is on assignment. I'm not sure what that is all about, but with that being said, we have Charles Bishop and AD Drew. But it's time to get into our rankings. Week number 11. This is the first one after the tournament, so we'll see what kind of changes go on here. I can tell you before we get started that we will have one new team in the top 5. You will see on this rankings that we will include not only the conference rankings, but we'll do the overall rankings as well, which will give you another data point, as Mike would like to say, in terms of how you may see the rankings. And we'll ask these two gentlemen whether they agree with them or not. We'll see what that means, whether I get back to where I start turning off the mics. You know, I've taken a little bit over the last 10 weeks, so I'm ready to get back to my professor role and kind of punish you with the pen when you don't do what you're supposed to do. We'll see what that means. If they follow a line or they still continue to have their own mind. Something tells me I might want to bring out my pen. But that being said, let's look at the top 5 because these guys are not the ones that go along just to get along. Number 5.
Which way are we going, Doc?
Let's go with the women, as we always do. Women, chivalry's not dead. We tend to start with the women. We will start with the team dropping out, which is Texas Southern Tigers, 16 and 15, 14 and 4. I think this will be one of those seasons which started out with a lot of flair. It certainly will be one to remember, but for 2 reasons. One is just how talented this team had showed itself in conference play, getting out to, what was it, 11-0 start, I believe it was, Charles, before they lost their first game.
Yeah.
And then they dropped one. They rebounded after that, and then they had the real bug of injury, and it wasn't one of those injuries that you come to know that really crushes your soul, but we found out just how challenging a head blow can be from a concussion. And the point guard that really drove things was out, and it didn't allow Texas Southern to finish maybe like they would have thought they could have based on the start they had once they got in the conference. But still did a very solid season. Winning record overall, 16 and 15, 14 and 4. It was good enough to get them a postseason invite. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe after I ask a couple of questions. But let's get into those receiving votes. Texas Southern Tigers, 16 and 15, 14 and 4. Overall with 41 points, as I said. Just outside of the top 5. At number 7, essentially, is Jackson State Tigers, 16 and 15, 13 and 5. Tough loss in the tournament as they thought they were on a final run to maybe get to a championship game, not quite to be, as they lost to the rival there. Coppin State Eagles, 18 and 14, 18 and 6. Overall, really good record. Finished in the 3rd spot for the MEAC, but really a distance between those top 2 teams. Certainly in the middle of the pack, but a nice move segment in terms of what they may be building over there in Coppin with the Eagles. Next is Grambling State Tigers, 15 and 15 overall, 12 and 6. They were ascending last year. I think they still are a strong program, but they took a little bit of a dip, had some big wins, but tough losses as well. But they still finished in the top 10, essentially, in the poll rankings here. And then you have back in the MEAC, Maryland at Eastern Shore, 14 and 17 overall, but 8 and 6 in terms of the conference rankings. Able to sneak in the top 10, even though they have an overall losing record. Let's get in the top 5 where we really get into the superlatives. Well, each of the teams have at least 19 wins, with 4 of them having over 20 wins. Starting with number 5, we have those Howard Bison. They jump back into the top 5. 21 wins overall, 21 and 11 to be exact, 12 and 2, 45 points. They were not ranked as they also get a postseason invite. At number 4, Alabama A&M Bulldogs are at 21 and 10, 14 and 4, 61 points. They remain at number 4, solid season, a tough exit to the tournament, probably a little early for their standards, particularly when they went in wanting to cut down the nets, not to be in 2024, 2025. Moving us to number 3, North Carolina A&T Aggies. They got to 19 wins, 19 and 11 overall, 15 and 3. That was good enough for a conference championship, but they were upset in the quarterfinals, really playing well for 3 quarters before they hit the wall in tournament play in the Colonial, what is known as the CAA, now Coastal Athletic Association. And number 2, we have those Southern Jaguars. They do the double-double, win the regular season and the tournament, and they do it in fine fashion. Alcorn State Braves are the team they defeated, who got to the championship game 2 years in a row, but just did not have enough to take down a vaunted Southern Jaguars team that was significant in terms of their matchup. They finished with 73 points. They do move up a spot in week number 11 as we get ready to close out things in the next week or two, depending on what teams do in the tournament. We'll see how long we keep pushing this. But in number 1, you have the Norfolk State Spartans. 30. Let me say that again. 30 wins on a season. That is significant in itself, with just 4 losses. You see this to some degree at the Division II, certainly oftentimes at the NIA level, but even getting to 30 wins is quite a feat. 4 losses you see with those teams at the top level at Division II, NIA for sure. Undefeated. Second year in a row where we had a HBCU Division I major division program on the women's side go undefeated in conference play and win the tournament. So they do the double-double. They gain the first place votes, so they have all 8 first place votes now, 80 points, and they remain at number 1. This is the 11th straight week, so they've held it all through our rankings and did not relinquish it. With that being said, I'm going to go to you first, Charles, and see what do you think of the top 5, particularly at the top of the poll. Do you have any concerns with the way things rolled out?
No concerns at the top of the poll. My shaky one comes down at number 4 because as much as I want to punish Alabama A&M for one and done, they did have a 21-win season. They are playing postseason basketball. My first inclination was to move Howard up to 4 and slip Texas Southern in at 5 just because they had one game better, tournament. But, that 21 wins does mean something. So I'm okay with Alabama A&M staying there.
I think it is arguable. I think you can see it anywhere. You might have a slight idea that you like the MEAC over the SWAC. I think there's a clear delineation on the men side because you had 6 of those games, 5 to 6 of those games, if my memory is correct, in terms of featuring what would we call MEAC SWAC matchups, and the MEAC dominated this year. I know for a fact that SWAC only had 1 win, whether it was 5-1, 6-1, whatever, 4-1. But with that being said, we really didn't get those matchups on the women's side. So there's no indication of how you look at that. So with that being said, I do think, to your point, that you could make the argument that you may want to flip 4 and 5. Interesting of how you would make the argument. I can see it either way, with that being said. I think one thing is always hard. Even the one and done in the tournament may be one justification. Howard making it to the championship game, getting beat by the 3rd time for Norfolk State, but who didn't get beat by Norfolk State? So,
right.
To your points. Exactly. With that being said, let me go to you, Drew, and get your thoughts in terms of the top 5 rankings or even those that are receiving votes. What are your thoughts if you look at the top 5? Any concerns in terms of what you see? Are you on the same page with Charles, or are you going in a different direction?
I am, but I'm doing it for a different reason, different rationale. Obviously, number 1, regular season champion, conference tournament champion, and undefeated. No argument there. Number 2, regular season champion, tournament champion. No argument there. Number 3, regular season champion. No argument there. Now here's what the debate is. I agree with number 4 and number 5, but I do not agree with the order.
Okay.
I put Howard above Alabama A&M using the similar rationale that I just used for 1, 2, and 3. Howard, 2nd place in the regular season, runner-up in the tournament.
Good point.
Alabama A&M, 3rd place, regular season, one and done in the tournament. So while moving Howard up to the number 4 slot, you're rewarding teams that did well in the marathon and the sprint. Although A&T laid the egg in the sprint, but you know they do have a trophy coming. Alabama A&M was a team with potential, but never quite showed it both regular season and in the postseason. So I have to flip number 4 and 5. I'm like Charles. I really wish you could put Texas Southern in there. They are a top 5 team, but I can't take none of these other 5 out.
Right.
To move Texas Southern up. That's the problem with the Texas Southern. Same thing with the Jackson State team. I think Jackson State is a top team, but how do I remove one, if not 2 teams, to allow Jackson State to get in there? So, you know, that's where I want to leave it at right there, Dr. Cavil.
I think you make brilliant arguments. You set it up really well. I will point out one point of clarification. Because we live in a society that in some places facts don't matter, but on here they do. So Alabama A&M actually tied for second place. They were tied with Texas Southern at 14-4. No, but to your point, you're thinking about the seeding in the tournament.
Yes.
Texas Southern did get the second seed, while Alabama A&M got the 3rd seed, and that was because Texas Southern beat Alabama A&M in the head-to-head tiebreaker. They only played once, so that should be noted. But they actually were tied in terms of the regular season at number 2. So I did want to get that on the book to be fair to the Bulldogs out there. But I think you were, in a lot of ways, looking at those seedings, which was correct. A&M was 3rd. But with that being said, before we take this next break and get into the inside for our final segment, essentially, I do want to ask you this. If that was the case, since I kind of provided a little bit of clarity, if you're going to bump them down to 5, do you actually bump them down to 6 and replace them with Texas Southern? Tied regular season, but Texas Southern did have the head-to-head.
Head-to-head, right.
That's why they got the 2 seed. So do you actually bump Alabama out of the top 5 and push Texas Southern to number 5? I'm going to go with you first, Drew. Yeah, I know that's a tough one, but that's why I have you on the show, because both of y'all can ask tough questions.
I leave Alabama A&M there because they had a little bit of a better non-conference season than Texas Southern. I think that's my tiebreaker in this scenario. Yes, I know Texas Southern did have the head-to-head, but they didn't get the get-back game, so I don't weigh it as much. Now, if this would have been a 2-0 sweep, yes, I definitely move Texas Southern up above Alabama A&M because everything else is the same, and you beat them twice. But with the 1, anybody could get got on one day. So I do weigh it a little bit, but I think I'm going with the non-conference because Alabama A&M had a much better non-conference.
Good stuff. Charles?
20 wins, 20-plus wins, that matters to me. So for that point right there, you know, I'm not going to touch Alabama A&M where they are. I like just looking at it. I might flip them with Howard from 4 to 5, but it's hard for me to try to scoot Texas Southern in there. And then, you know, one of the things I was really taking a look at, I was just curious, how did they finish the season? To Drew's point, you know, anybody can be got on one day, but I'm curious as to how Texas Southern and Alabama A&M did like over the last 4 games of the season. And there'll probably be another little metric in there in terms of, you know, who gets into that 4-5 spot.
I will say this. I think both of y'all, even though I don't necessarily agree with you, I think your rationale, your debate, your arguments were right on spot. So I'm giving you an A. With that, we'll take a next break as we do the little look in. We'll go to our last segment and give you the top 5 of the men where there were quite a few changes. 2 teams actually dropped out. So the dialogue may get even more interesting in this segment. So stick with us as we come back after the break.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. Yes.
This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's go with the 2024-2025 HBCU Major Division Men's Basketball Poll Rankings in week number 11. Let's start with those teams dropping out. As I said, we had 2 of them. And with the teams dropping out this week, we have Jackson State Tigers sitting at 16-18, 14-4 overall. Really did well in conference play. Came in with a tough non-conference slate, and it really hurt them in terms of their overall record. Just as well, you had Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. They did finish with an overall winning record, 17-16, 13-5. They had a semifinals exit. A tough matchup where they lost to Jackson State. In that matchup that prevailed, pushed Jackson State Tigers to the final championship game. But with that being said, let's look at those receiving votes. Bethune-Cookman was the top team receiving votes. I just said it's 17-16, 13-5, along with Tennessee State Tigers that jumps up a bit, closing out the season at 17-16, 12-8 in the OVC. You have Texas Southern Tigers, Alcorn State Braves, and the Florida A&M Rattlers, if you would, in terms of finishing in the top 10, if you would, all 3 with losing records, 11-7, 10-8, as well as 10-8 for those respective teams. With that being said, let's get in the top 5. In terms of the top 5, you have Tennessee State. And I should say, as they were receiving votes, that should have been Jackson State that was in place instead of Tennessee State. That was actually Jackson State sitting at 16-18, 14-4. Tennessee State jumps actually into the top 5 at 17-16, 12-8, 54 points. They were not ranked. At number 4, you have the Alabama State Hornets that won the SWAC championship. They jumped into the top 5 with that tournament run. They had a strong finish to the season, tied for that 4th slot. They actually were seeded 5, though, because of the tiebreakers gave the advantage to Texas Southern. But because of their run, they finished with 19-15 overall, 12-6. Somebody gave them a first-place vote, 71 points. They were not ranked and made that run. At number 3, Southern Jaguars with the early upset actually knocked them from the number 1 position all the way down to number 3, but they still finished with 20 wins on the season, 20-12, 15-3, 2 first place votes, 88 points. At number 2, South Carolina State Bulldogs. They make it to the MEAC championship game. For the first half, it looked like they would be getting a bid to the tournament. But Norfolk State made a significant run, holds the Bulldogs off late, and get it done, and they're back in the champion seat. That's 3 in the last 5 years. After taking a slight hiatus, they're back as the king of the mountain. But South Carolina State, the MEAC, finished 1-2. South Carolina State did earn 4 first-place votes, so it was relatively close at the top. As number 1, Norfolk State Spartans, 24-10, 11-3, 5 first-place votes, 103 points. Seeing how close it was, they moved up, which is most significantly 4 spots. So if you have Norfolk State Spartans winning a regular season championship and a tournament championship, South Carolina State winning a regular season championship as Norfolk State and South Carolina State were co-champions in the MEAC. They were tied with the same record. Norfolk State, just for clarifications, did get the number 1 seed because of the tiebreakers, as South Carolina State came in at the number 2 seed. Southern, as you know, was the number 1 seed in the tournament as they had the regular season champion outright in the SWAC. With that being said, a start with you, Drew. Just again for clarification, Tennessee State is in the top 5. It was Jackson State that essentially finished at number 7. With that being said, Drew, what are your thoughts on top 5 in week number 11?
No argument with the 2 MEAC teams being at the top. Somebody made a comment earlier while we was on break. Edmund talked about, I know I got my degree when FAMU was in the MEAC, but I should have followed them to the SWAC with some of my analysis. Now, my brother, I'm just keeping it real, no conference bias here. I'm splitting hairs on this one, Doc. Alabama State swept Southern, despite the fact that Southern won the regular season championship. 2 of their 3 losses were to Alabama State. And Alabama State was able to put it together at the end and win the tournament. I am strongly considering flip-flopping Alabama State and Southern, Dr. Cavil.
Interesting.
Say it again.
Interesting. I like it, though.
Yeah. Now you get down to the bottom. Bethune, Tennessee State. That's another one I'm considering. And forgive me for saying this, Rattler Nation. I'm really considering moving Bethune into that 5 spot ahead of Tennessee State with a 13-5 record in conference compared to a 12-8 record in the OVC. I think everything else is pretty much where it should be at. Although Jackson State with a great SWAC regular season, but we're not even gonna go back and discuss their November, December. It's not even worth mentioning here on this podcast. It was not pretty in Jackson, so I leave Jackson State where they are because of that. So. Yeah, I'll turn it over to
good arguments. Again, like that. Jackson State got the best of Alabama State as they just had the one-time matchup. It was in Jackson. Jackson won 77-70, but it looks like Alabama State got the big prize as they win the tournament championship. It's one of those championships for Jackson State. I think it's going to be tough when your 2 players get injured in the game. It is part of it, particularly your point guard late in that matchup when the game was essentially tied and you were slightly ahead. Be fascinating to see how that may have played out differently. But in sports, those go the way it goes. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 5? Or even if you want to go in that direction.
No, I was just trying to sprint back and take a look at Bethune-Cookman's November, December. just to see what was happening over there with them. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they had a weird one because they had the injuries.
Yeah.
So some people want to factor that in. Some people don't. They had probably 2 weird losses, back-to-back home losses in terms of matchups where they don't lose often. But then they go and sandwich that between 4 road wins, 2 before and 2 after, and you're like, how do you rationalize it? So I want to hear your comments. Great points.
Yeah, they like you said, those weird losses, Alcorn and Jackson State back-to-back at home. So that jumped out for me. But as I go through, I have no problems with 1 and 2 in terms of Norfolk State and South Carolina State. I like AD's argument with regards to flipping Alabama State and Southern. That makes a lot of sense because Alabama State, they got the feather in the cap. They get the SWAC championship ring, and they did knock off Southern a couple of times.
Good points.
You know, that's huge. That 5 spot is tenuous with Tennessee State. Although they are above 500, that factors in for me. 17-16, 12-8 in conference play. Ugh.
But so are the 2 behind them, Charles, at 17-16, Bethune, and
Yeah, I'm trying to figure rationale to bump Bethune up, to that number 5. Yeah, I know. I'm going to drop Tennessee State and bring Bethune-Cookman up. Just Jackson State being underwater at 500, although impressive, they came back from 0-11 to finish 16-18, 14-4 in conference play.
Yeah, I know everything is hand grenade and horseshoes, whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go with Bethune-Cookman.
No, but I don't have much problem in terms of what you're saying there in that. If you would, as we close on that, bring the final top 5. I do want to ask you a question in terms of this a little bit, or at least make an argument. It may be better in terms of that perspective, if you would. South Carolina State, that close for going to the NCAA. They didn't go, but they got a regular season, or at least a share of the championship. Southern Jaguars, obviously, early exit. This is, to me, why a tournament, particularly the Black College Invitational Championship, is needed. It would have been fascinating if you could have got 2 regular season champions.
Yeah.
To face off. I think that would have been, at the very least, very entertaining in terms of on the men's side with South Carolina, Southern Jaguars. Particularly unlike on the women's side where you had your deepest pool ever, the teams getting postseason play in the CBI and the women WNIT, which accolades and kudos to them, well-deserved that you get in there, including Texas Southern that will be playing a home game that I wanted to make sure we did show love and mention in terms of that game being on Thursday as well, as they will face St. Mary's College, which a lot of folks are familiar with from the West Coast Conference. Usually, though, when you think about St. Mary's, you're thinking about the men's program as they face off with Gonzaga and have fought matchups there. But they'll have a home game. It'll kick off at 6:30. That is Thursday, the 20th, at the Health and Physical Education Arena, H&P, known for us in regards to that. Charles had an interview with the coach, so you might want to share a comment there. We'll certainly give a chance and maybe play it before the game kicks off on Thursday. Parts of that, we'll chop it up. We'll see if we can get that to you. But any comments that were made at the presser today that you think people want to consider?
Well, I think a very interesting tie-in terms of Texas Southern taking on St. Mary's. St. Mary's head coach Jeff Campbell, of course, he's an Alcorn graduate. 3-year starter, won SWAC championships with Alcorn. So there is a SWAC tie-in there with regards to Texas Southern taking on St. Mary's. So that was a nice little nugget, that came out of the presser today. And just the fact that Coach Skeet's kind of talking about, not only their non-conference schedule, but playing in a physical conference like the SWAC has prepared them for this postseason opportunity. And they are going to get one of their players back in terms of Treasure Thompson. She didn't see her over the last 3-4 games of the season as well.